Emperor Zekthar stood in the deepest vault beneath the Imperial Palace, staring at the ancient weapon that had not been activated for 500 years. The Star Eater was a massive construct, larger than most moons and capable of destroying entire planets with a single focused beam of dark energy. "Your Imperial Majesty, are you certain this is the only solution?" asked High Admiral Korthax. "Once we deploy the Star Eater against the human homeworld, there will be no possibility of negotiation or peaceful resolution." The Emperor's yellow eyes burned with desperate fury. For 6 months, human ships had appeared throughout Imperial space like ghosts conducting impossible raids that defied every law of physics and military strategy. Supply convoys vanished without distress calls. Orbital stations went dark with no signs of battle. Entire military installations found their equipment had disappeared overnight. "The humans have made conventional warfare impossible," he hissed. "Their stealth technology allows them to strike anywhere at any time without detection. Our commanders are paralyzed by fear, and our civilian populations are demanding protection we cannot provide." The psychological campaign had worked exactly as Captain Alex Turner had planned. The UES Nightfall had conducted over 50 raids throughout Zephyrin territory, without ever being detected or intercepted. Each impossible attack had increased the Empire's desperation until their leaders saw only one solution: complete annihilation of the human species, the Emperor continued. "If we cannot defeat them through conventional means, then we will simply erase them from existence. Prepare the Star Eater for immediate deployment to their solar system." High Admiral Korthax bowed reluctantly. "It will take 3 weeks to fully activate the weapon and move it into position, Your Majesty. The human homeworld will cease to exist 1 month from today." What the Emperor did not know was that human intelligence operative Rachel Stone had infiltrated the deepest levels of Imperial security months ago. Every conversation in the palace was being monitored and transmitted to Earth through quantum communication, channels that the Zephyrins could not detect or intercept. Captain Turner received the warning with grim satisfaction as he stood on the bridge of the Nightfall, hidden in the outer darkness of the Sol system. His psychological warfare campaign had succeeded beyond all expectations. The Empire was so terrified of human capabilities that they were willing to deploy their ultimate weapon. "Admiral Stone, this is Turner. The Star Eater fleet is moving toward Earth with an estimated arrival time of 18 days. Request permission to initiate Protocol 7. "Permission granted, Captain. Show them why humans are the most dangerous species they have ever encountered." Protocol 7 was humanity's most audacious plan yet. Instead of trying to destroy the Star Eater, they would capture it and turn the Empire's ultimate weapon against their own forces. The plan required perfect timing and coordination between dozens of human ships positioned throughout the solar system. Admiral Rick Stone stood in Earth's command center, watching tactical displays that showed the approaching Zephyrin superweapon fleet. The Star Eater was protected by over 200 warships in the largest military formation the Empire had ever assembled. "Human vessels are in position," reported Colonel Lisa. "Parsi Captain Turner confirms the Nightfall is ready to begin the POI operation." What the Zephyrins could not see was that human ships had been hiding throughout the solar system for weeks using quantum stealth technology. Vessels were concealed in asteroid fields using gravitational cloaking. Others floated within the corona of the sun itself, protected by heat-resistant quantum shielding. The largest group was positioned inside the gas giant Jupiter using the planet's magnetic field to mask their signatures. Emperor Zekthar watched the tactical display aboard the Star Eater as his massive fleet approached the human homeworld. He expected to find terrified defenders prepared for a hopeless last stand. Instead, his sensors detected only empty space around the blue planet. "Where are their ships?" he demanded. "Surely the humans will attempt to defend their world." "Our sensors detect no significant military presence, Your Imperial Majesty. It appears they have accepted the futility of resistance against the Star Eater." The Emperor smiled with cold satisfaction. "Begin charging the primary weapon. I want their entire system reduced to cosmic dust." The massive weapon began gathering dark energy from the quantum vacuum, creating a distortion in space-time that could be felt across multiple star systems. In 15 minutes, Earth and everything in the solar system would be completely destroyed. That was when Captain Turner gave the signal for humanity's greatest military operation to begin. Human ships appeared from impossible locations as if materializing from empty space itself. The Zephyrin fleet found themselves surrounded by vessels that seemed to violate every known law of physics. Ships emerged from inside planetary atmospheres. Others phased into normal space from dimensions the Empire did not know existed. "Impossible," gasped the Emperor, as his tactical displays showed human vessels appearing faster than his weapons could target them. "How many ships do they have?" The answer was fewer than 50, but human technology made each vessel appear to be in multiple locations simultaneously. Quantum entanglement allowed coordinated attacks from directions the Zephyrins could not predict or defend against. Captain Turner's voice echoed across all Imperial communication frequencies. "Emperor Zekthar, you brought your ultimate weapon to destroy our world. Instead, you have delivered it directly into our hands." The battle that followed redefined everything the galaxy thought it knew about space warfare. Human ships used gravitational weapons to create tactical black holes that consumed entire Zephyrin formations. Quantum disruptors made enemy vessels simply cease to exist. Nanite swarms devoured warship hulls and converted the material into additional weapons. But the most devastating attack was psychological. Teams of human specialists led by Commander Lisa Park used teleportation technology to board the Star Eater during the height of battle. While Imperial forces fought desperately to protect their superweapon from external attack, humans were capturing it from within. Emperor Zekthar watched in horror as his own ultimate weapon turned its massive guns on the Imperial fleet. The sight of the Star Eater destroying Zephyrin ships broke the will of his remaining commanders. Within hours, the most powerful military force in Imperial history was retreating in complete disorder. "Your Imperial Majesty," came Captain Turner's voice over the communications system, "we are prepared to discuss terms for ending this conflict." The treaty negotiations took place aboard the captured Star Eater with Admiral Rick Stone representing humanity and the humbled Emperor Zekthar speaking for the Empire. The agreement established humanity not as conquerors but as the galaxy's new peacekeeping force. "We never wanted to rule your empire," Admiral Stone explained. "We only wanted to explore the galaxy in peace. But since you insisted on making that impossible through aggression, you have discovered that humans can be very creative in solving problems." The Treaty of Terra granted independence to dozens of species that had been enslaved by the Zephyrin Empire for centuries. It established human patrol zones throughout the galaxy to prevent future wars of conquest. Most importantly, it demonstrated to every civilization in known space that the age of imperial expansion through military force had finally ended. Captain Alex Turner was promoted to admiral and given command of humanity's newest vessel, the UES Harmony. Unlike previous warships, the Harmony was designed for exploration and diplomacy rather than combat. Its mission was to help other species develop the innovative thinking that had made humanity unique. "The galaxy is about to learn something important," Admiral Turner announced during the ship's maiden voyage. "Superior technology is not enough to guarantee victory. Superior thinking about how to use that technology is what determines the outcome of any conflict." The final message of humanity's triumph spread throughout known space, carried by former Imperial communication networks. Dozens of alien species began studying human methods and adopting innovative approaches to science and engineering. The rigid military traditions that had dominated Galactic civilization for millennia were replaced by creative problem-solving and adaptive strategies. The Zephyrin Empire survived, but only as one member of a new galactic council where decisions were made through negotiation rather than force. Emperor Zekthar found himself serving alongside the representatives of species his ancestors had conquered. "How did we lose everything to a species we dismissed as primitive?" he asked Admiral Stone during one council session. "You lost because you assumed that doing things the same way for 1,000 years made those methods correct," Stone replied. "Humans succeeded because we never assume anything is impossible until we have tried every possible solution." The galaxy had learned that sometimes the most powerful weapon was not superior firepower, but superior thinking about what was possible. Humanity had not conquered space through military might, but by proving that innovation could overcome any obstacle, including traditions that claimed to be unbeatable. The age of human exploration had begun, and with it a new era when the word impossible would have far less meaning than ever before. The imperial palace on the Zephyrin homeworld had stood for over 2,000 years as a symbol of unstoppable military might. Today, its great halls echoed with something that had never been heard before in the Empire's long history: the sound of fear. Emperor Zekthar sat on his ancient throne reading the battle report from Admiral Thexmore for the 5th time. The words remained the same no matter how often he reviewed them. 9 Imperial warships destroyed, by 3 human vessels using impossible technology and tactics that defied all known military doctrine. High Admiral Korthak stood before the throne trying to explain how his routine conquest mission had become a catastrophic defeat. His green scales had turned pale with anxiety, and his usual confident voice shook as he spoke. Your Imperial Majesty, the humans appear to possess technology that we do not understand. Their ships can occupy multiple positions simultaneously, and their weapons manipulate forces that our science cannot explain. Are you telling me, the Emperor hissed, that a species we dismissed as primitive has defeated the Imperial Navy in open battle? That appears to be the case, Your Majesty. Admiral Thexmore's surviving ships confirm that human military capabilities were severely underestimated in our initial assessment. The Emperor rose from his throne and walked to the great window that looked out over the capital city. For 1,000 years, the Zephyrin Empire had expanded across the galaxy, without meeting any species that could resist their military power. They had grown comfortable with the belief that they were the supreme civilization in known space. Summon the War Council immediately, he commanded. If these humans represent a genuine threat to Imperial expansion, then we must decide how to respond before they can strengthen their defenses. Further, within an hour, the most powerful military leaders in the Empire had gathered in the strategic planning chamber. The room's holographic displays showed star charts with human territory marked as a small red zone near the galactic rim. It looked insignificant compared to the vast green expanse that represented Imperial space. The question before us is simple, the Emperor announced. Do we commit our full military resources to crush this human resistance, or do we seek some form of negotiated settlement? General Vorthak was the first to speak. He commanded the Empire's largest battle fleet and had personally conquered 12 star systems. Your Majesty, no primitive species should be allowed to defeat Imperial forces without consequences. I recommend we mobilize 1,000 ships and reduce their worlds to ash. And if their technology proves effective against a larger fleet, asked Admiral Kessera, we could lose hundreds of ships trying to overwhelm defenses we do not understand. The debate continued for hours as military leaders argued between immediate, overwhelming retaliation and cautious strategic planning. None of them had experience dealing with an enemy that could actually threaten Imperial supremacy. Meanwhile, Captain Alex Turner stood in the command center of Earth's newest military facility, buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The walls were lined with screens showing intelligence data gathered from intercepted Zephyrin communications. The Empire was clearly struggling to understand how their invasion had failed so completely. Their military doctrine has not changed in centuries, observed Colonel Lisa Park, who had been promoted after her service aboard the Defiance. They rely on brute force tactics that work against primitive species, but they have no experience adapting to revolutionary technology, Admiral Rick Stone studied the latest intelligence reports with satisfaction. The psychological impact appears to be even more effective than the actual military defeat. Their outer colonies are requesting additional protection, and some of their ship crews are refusing deep space assignments. Fear of the unknown is humanity's greatest weapon in this conflict, added Dr. Karen Mills. The Zephyrins have built their entire civilization on the belief that they are militarily superior to all other species. We have shattered that confidence with a single battle. Captain Turner activated a holographic display showing the newest human warship under construction in Earth's orbital shipyards. The UES Nightfall will be ready for deployment in 6 weeks. Unlike the Defiance, which was designed for direct confrontation, this ship is built for infiltration and surgical strikes. What kind of mission profile are you planning? Admiral Stone asked. Psychological warfare on a scale the galaxy has never seen. Instead of waiting for them to attack us, again, we are going to demonstrate that human ships can appear anywhere in their territory at any time without warning. Dr. Mills brought up technical specifications for the Nightfall's revolutionary stealth systems. Complete quantum invisibility combined with hyperspace penetration technology that allows the ship to travel through dimensions the Empire does not know exist. The plan is to conduct a series of impossible raids throughout Zephyrin space, Turner explained. Supply convoys will disappear without trace. Orbital stations will go dark with no signs of battle damage. Military installations will find their equipment has simply vanished overnight. Colonel Park smiled at the elegant simplicity of the strategy. We are not trying to conquer their territory. We are trying to convince them that resistance against humanity is futile, because they can never predict where or when we might strike. The Empire has thousands of systems and millions of installations, Admiral Stone observed. They cannot defend everything simultaneously against an enemy they cannot detect or track. Captain Turner nodded. Exactly. Every Zephyrin commander will have to consider the possibility that human ships might appear in their sector at any moment. The fear of attack will be more devastating than actual attacks could ever be. Dr. Mills was reviewing psychological profiles of various alien species. Zephyrin culture is built on concepts of honor and predictable military traditions. They have never faced an enemy that refuses to fight according to established rules. Our chaotic approach to warfare will be more terrifying to them than our technology. When do we begin the campaign? Admiral Stone asked. As soon as the Nightfall completes its shakedown trials. My crew includes Commander Lisa Parkus, First Officer, Tactical Officer Danny Wright, and Systems Specialist Maya Chen. All veterans who understand how humans fight differently than other species. The conversation was interrupted when Communications Officer Amy Walsh entered the command center, carrying urgent intelligence data. Admiral, we have intercepted high-level Imperial communications. Emperor Zekthar is considering activating something called the Star Eater Protocol. Our analysts believe this refers to some kind of planet-destroying weapon. The mood in the room became instantly serious. Captain Turner studied the intercepted messages with growing concern. How long before they could deploy such a weapon against Earth, he asked. Intelligence. Estimates suggest 6 to 8 months if they commit full resources to the project. The Star Eater appears to be some kind of massive construct that requires significant preparation time. Admiral Stone was already formulating contingency plans. We need to accelerate our psychological warfare campaign. If we can create enough internal chaos in the Empire, they may not be able to complete their superweapon project, or better yet, suggested Dr. Mills, we find a way to capture their ultimate weapon and turn it against them. Nothing would demonstrate human superiority more effectively than using their own planet killer to destroy their battle fleets. Captain Turner was studying star charts showing the locations of key Imperial installations. The Nightfall will begin operations in their outer territories where defenses are lighter. We will gradually work our way toward more important targets as we demonstrate that no Zephyrin position is safe from human attack. What is our ultimate objective? Colonel Park asked. To convince the Empire that continued conflict with humanity will result in their complete destruction. Turner replied. Not through conquest, but through the gradual collapse of their military morale and civilian confidence. Admiral Stone approved the plan with satisfaction. The Empire believes they are fighting a primitive species that got lucky in one battle. Instead, they are about to discover that humans represent something completely new in this galaxy. An enemy that does not fight for territory or resources, but to prove that superior thinking can overcome superior numbers. The psychological war against the Zephyrin Empire was about to begin, and humanity would demonstrate why adaptability was more powerful than tradition. Admiral Thexmore stood on the bridge of his flagship watching the blue planet that these humans called Earth grow larger on the view screen. Behind him stretched the full might of Invasion Fleet, 7 with 11 other warships ready to bring this primitive species into the Empire through force if necessary. The Admiral was confident this would be another routine conquest. His intelligence reports described humans as a recently spacefaring species with basic technology and no significant military experience. The single ship encounter 3 months ago had been dismissed as lucky, defensive measures that would not work against a full fleet assault. Admiral, we are detecting one ship approaching from the third planet, reported his sensor officer. It appears to be alone. Thexmore studied the tactical display with amusement. The human vessel was smaller than his own flagship and showed no escort ships or defensive formations. These primitives were even more foolish than he had expected. "Open communications with the human ship," he commanded. The main screen changed to show the bridge of the approaching vessel. A human male in a simple uniform sat in the command chair. He had brown hair and calm eyes that showed no fear despite facing 12 Zephyrin warships. "I am Admiral Thexmore of the Zephyrin Imperial Navy. You will surrender immediately and prepare to be occupied. Resistance is futile against the might of the Empire." The human commander looked directly at him through the screen. "I am Captain Alex Turner of the United Earthship Defiance. Counteroffer, Admiral. Leave our system now and maybe we will let you tell others about this mistake." Thexmore could not believe what he was hearing. This single primitive ship was actually threatening his entire invasion fleet. The other bridge officers began laughing at the absurd human response. "You dare threaten the Imperial Navy with one small ship?" Thexmore growled. "I will give you one final chance to surrender before we destroy you completely." Captain Turner spoke quietly to someone off-screen, then turned back to face the Admiral. "You have our answer. Come and take our planet if you think you can." The communication ended, leaving Thexmore staring at an empty screen. No species in galactic history had ever been so arrogant when facing Imperial forces. These humans needed to learn respect through overwhelming demonstration of power. "All ships target the human vessel. Fire at will." 12 Zephyrin warships unleashed their full firepower simultaneously. Plasma cannons and antimatter torpedoes filled the space around the Defiance, with enough destructive energy to vaporize an entire city. The explosions lit up the solar system like a new star being born. When the energy dissipated, Thexmore expected to see empty space where the human ship had been. Instead, the Defiance sat completely undamaged, exactly where it had been before the attack. "Impossible," whispered his tactical officer. "Admiral, our sensors show no damage to their hull. How can they survive that level of firepower?" Before Thexmore could answer, the human ship began to move in ways that violated everything he knew about space combat. The Defiance accelerated instantly without any visible propulsion, and changed direction as if gravity had no effect on it. The ship seemed to dance between his fleet formations like it weighed nothing at all. "All ships continue firing. Concentrate your attacks." But the human vessel was no longer where their weapons were aimed. It appeared behind 3 of his ships and unleashed weapons that Thexmore had never seen before. Strange torpedoes that seemed to bend space itself struck his cruisers and created areas where matter simply disappeared. Entire sections of his ships vanished as if they had never existed. "What kind of weapons are those?" he demanded. "Unknown, Admiral. Our sensors cannot identify the technology they are using. It appears to manipulate gravity and quantum forces in ways we do not understand." The Defiance was now releasing clouds of tiny objects that swarmed over another Zephyrin vessel. Thexmore watched in horror as his warship's hull began dissolving. The small objects were consuming the metal and somehow using it to create more of themselves. "Admiral, the nanites are eating through Hull 7. The ship is requesting immediate assistance." Nanites. Thexmore had heard of such technology, but no species in the galaxy had ever successfully weaponized it. These humans were using science that should have been impossible. The battle continued, but it was unlike anything in recorded galactic history. The single human ship seemed to be everywhere at once. It would appear to take damage and retreat only to reveal that the damage had been some kind of illusion designed to lure Zephyrin ships into a trap, Admiral. "The human vessel appears to be in 3 different locations simultaneously," reported the confused sensor officer. "Our targeting computers cannot lock onto them effectively." Thexmore realized with growing dread that his ships were being systematically destroyed by tactics he could not understand or counter. The humans were not fighting like any military force he had ever encountered. They used deception and technology that seemed to ignore the basic laws of physics. Captain Turner's voice came over the communications again. "Admiral, I suggest you order your remaining ships to withdraw. You are fighting a battle you cannot win using methods you do not understand." "Never," Thexmore snarled. "The Empire does not retreat from primitive species." "Then you will learn why humans are not primitive." The Defiance suddenly appeared directly in front of Thexmore's flagship. At this close range, he could see details of the human ship that his sensors had missed. The hull seemed to shift and phase as if it existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Weapons ports opened that had not been visible before. "Impossible," he breathed. "That ship is not what it appears to be." His tactical officer was frantically working at his controls. "Admiral, I am detecting quantum signatures that suggest the human vessel is actually 3 identical ships using some form of entanglement to share position states." They appear as one ship but can act independently. The truth hit Thexmore like a physical blow. The humans had not sent one ship to fight his entire fleet. They had sent 3 ships using technology that allowed them to occupy the same space and coordinate their attacks perfectly. His fleet had been fighting an enemy that could be in multiple places at once. The remaining human ships revealed themselves as they launched a final coordinated assault. Gravitational weapons tore apart 2 more Zephyrin vessels, while quantum disruptors made another ship simply cease to exist. The nanite swarms had consumed a 4th vessel, and were now using its mass to create additional weapons. All remaining ships retreat immediately. Thexmore ordered, "Jump to hyperspace and return to Imperial territory," but only his flagship and 2 damaged cruisers were still functional. 9 ships of his proud invasion fleet had been destroyed, or disabled by 3 human vessels using technology and tactics that defied everything the Zephyrin Empire thought they knew about warfare. As his ship limped away toward the edge of the solar system, Thexmore sent an emergency message to Imperial High Command. The content was simple but would shake the Empire to its foundations. Invasion Fleet 7 has been defeated. The humans possess technology and military capabilities far beyond our initial estimates. They do not fight like any known species. Request immediate strategic reassessment of human threat level. Behind him, the 3 human ships had rejoined into their single configuration and were already disappearing back toward their home planet. Captain Turner had kept his word. He had let the survivors escape to tell others about their defeat. Thexmore knew that his military career was over. No admiral in Imperial history had ever lost 9 ships to a single enemy vessel. But more importantly, he knew that the Zephyrin Empire had finally encountered something they had never faced before in 1,000 years of conquest. An enemy that could not be defeated by conventional means. 3 months had passed since the encounter between the Eternal Glory and the human ship Liberty. Deep inside the Imperial Palace on the Zephyrin homeworld, High Admiral Korthax reviewed the reports from the Outer Rim territories. Commander Vexitai had filed a standard first contact report describing humans as a minor spacefaring species with basic defensive capabilities. The High Admiral was a veteran of dozens of conquest campaigns and had overseen the subjugation of 17 different alien races. To him, the humans sounded like every other primitive species the Empire had encountered. They would resist at first but quickly surrender when faced with overwhelming Imperial force. "Prepare Invasion Fleet 7, he commanded his aide. 12 warships should be more than sufficient to capture this human homeworld and any colonies they might have established. The aide made notes on his datapad. "What classification should we assign to this species, Admiral?" "Standard Class 3 Conquest, suitable for manual labor and basic industrial work. Their technology appears adequate for maintaining our outer mining." Operations. High Admiral Korthax had no way of knowing that his simple decision would change the fate of the entire Zephyrin Empire, forever. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison stood in the main briefing room of the United Earth Defense Council headquarters. The walls were lined with screens showing star maps and tactical data. General Susan Hayes sat at the head of the long table, while Admiral Rick Stone studied the recordings from the Liberty's encounter with the alien. "Warship, show us again what happened when they fired on your ship," General Hayes requested. Morrison activated the holographic display. The image showed the massive Zephyrin vessel unleashing bright plasma beams that struck the Liberty directly. The human ship remained completely undamaged. "Our quantum-locked hull plating held perfectly," Morrison explained. "The alien energy weapons passed right through our outer defensive field without causing any structural damage." Admiral Stone leaned forward with interest. "And they had no idea how our technology worked?" "None at all. They seemed genuinely shocked that their weapons had no effect. I think they expected us to surrender immediately like every other species they have encountered." Dr. Karen Mills entered the briefing room carrying a data tablet filled with technical specifications. She was Earth's leading expert on advanced physics and had spent years developing humanity's revolutionary spacecraft technology. "The recordings confirm everything we theorized about galactic military technology," she said. "These aliens are using brute force approaches that worked against primitive species, but they have never faced quantum-phased defensive systems." General Hayes stood and walked to the main display screen. "Explain it in simple terms, Doctor. Every other species in the galaxy builds their ships like ancient Earth battleships. thick armor plating and powerful weapons designed to punch through enemy defenses, but human engineering took a completely different approach. Dr. Mills activated another hologram, showing the internal structure of a human warship. Our hulls exist in multiple quantum states simultaneously. When an energy weapon hits us, the hull phases into a state where the weapon cannot interact with our matter. It's like trying to hit smoke with a sword. Admiral Stone was studying tactical reports from Earth's outer colonies. How long do we have before they come back in force? Intelligence estimates suggest 3 to 6 months, Morrison replied. Long enough for us to prepare, but not long enough to build a large fleet. We don't need a large fleet, General Hayes said firmly. We need to show them that humans fight differently than anyone they have ever faced. The conversation was interrupted when Amy Walsh entered the room. She had been monitoring alien communications since returning from the Liberty's mission. General, we have intercepted transmissions from the Zephyrin Empire. They are sending 12 warships to invade Earth. The fleet is commanded by Admiral Thexmore and should arrive in approximately 10 weeks. Admiral Stone smiled grimly. 12 ships against 1 human vessel. They still don't understand what they are dealing with. What ship will represent Earth in this battle? General Hayes asked. The UES Defiance, Admiral Stone replied. Our newest and most advanced warship. Captain Alex Turner has been training his crew for exactly this kind of engagement. Dr. Mills brought up the technical specifications for the Defiance on the main screen. The ship looked deceptively simple from the outside, but contained technology that no other species in the galaxy possessed. The Defiance is equipped with gravitational torpedoes that create localized space distortions, she explained. Quantum disruptors that can make enemy matter simply cease to exist. And nanite swarm weapons that consume enemy hulls and convert the material into additional ammunition. More importantly, Morrison added, Captain Turner understands human tactical doctrine. We don't fight like other species. We use deception and psychological warfare. We adapt to whatever the enemy throws at us and find ways to turn their own strength against them. General Hayes nodded approvingly. What makes humans unique in this galaxy is not just our technology, but our approach to problem solving. Other species follow rigid military traditions that have worked for thousands of years. We throw out the rule book and do whatever it takes to win. Admiral Stone was reviewing personnel files on his datapad. Turner's crew includes some of our best people. Lisa Park transferred from the Liberty to serve as his first officer. His tactical officer, Danny Wright, graduated top of his class from the War College. Systems specialist Maya Chen helped design half the technology on that ship. The real question, Dr. Mills said thoughtfully, is whether we want to simply defeat this invasion fleet or send a message to their entire empire. What kind of message? General Hayes asked. The kind that makes them think twice before threatening humanity again. We need to show them that humans are not just another primitive species to be conquered. We are something completely new in this galaxy. Morrison looked at the star charts showing Earth's position relative to Zephyrin space. The Empire has been expanding for over 1,000 years. They have never met serious resistance because every species they encounter fights the same way. Line up your ships and blast away until someone surrenders. But humans don't think like that, Admiral Stone observed. We see a problem, and we find the most creative solution possible. Sometimes that means using advanced technology. Sometimes it means using tactics that seem impossible to our enemies. Amy Walsh had been quietly monitoring more alien transmissions. The Zephyrin invasion fleet is commanded by Admiral Thexmore. He has conquered 15 star systems and never lost a battle. Imperial records show he prefers overwhelming frontal assaults with maximum firepower. Perfect, General Hayes said with satisfaction. He will expect Earth to position our fleet for a traditional space battle. Instead, he will find a single human ship that can do things he has never seen before. Dr. Mills was making final calculations on her datapad. The Defiance should be able to handle 12 enemy vessels if Captain Turner uses proper human tactics. The key is not trying to match their firepower but making them fight on our terms instead of theirs. And if we win this battle decisively, Admiral Stone added, the news will spread throughout the Empire. Every Zephyrin commander will have to consider the possibility that their next target might be defended by humans. General Hayes looked around the room at Earth's military leadership. These people had spent their careers preparing for the day when humanity would face threats from beyond their solar system. That day had finally arrived. Send word to Captain Turner. Tell him that the honor of representing humanity in our first real interstellar battle belongs to him and the crew of the Defiance. Also tell him that the entire galaxy is about to learn why humans are different from every other species they have encountered. The invasion fleet was coming, and Earth would be ready. The massive Zephyrin warship Eternal Glory moved through the darkness of space like a metal mountain, floating among the stars. Commander Vextai stood on the bridge watching the view screen with his cold reptilian eyes. His scales were dark green and his claws tapped against the metal rail as he studied the readings from his sensors. Something was out there in the empty space between star systems. Something that did not belong to any known species in the galaxy. The sensor officer turned toward him with excitement in his yellow eyes. Commander, we have found a ship from an unknown species. It appears to be primitive and small. The design is very basic compared to our technology. Vextai moved closer to look at the data. The ship was indeed small, and looked like it was built by a species that had just learned to travel between stars. Its hull was made of simple metals and the energy readings were weak. This would be an easy capture for the Empire. How many life forms are on board, he asked. 4 signatures, Commander. All appear to be from the same species. They are carbon-based and breathe oxygen like many primitive forms. Vextai smiled, showing his sharp teeth. The Zephyrin Empire had been expanding for over 1,000 years and they had never met a species they could not defeat. This new discovery would be another easy addition to their growing collection of slave races. Open a channel to their ship, he commanded. The communications officer worked at his controls and soon the main screen showed the interior of the alien vessel. 4 strange creatures sat at what looked like control stations. They had pale skin and hair on their heads and wore simple clothing. The one in the center appeared to be their leader. I am Commander Vextai of the Zephyrin Empire, he said in the common galactic language. You are trespassing in Imperial space. Surrender immediately and prepare to be boarded. The alien leader looked calm as he responded. I am Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth vessel Liberty. We are peaceful explorers on our first journey beyond our home system. We mean no harm to anyone. Vextai laughed at the simple response. These humans, as they called themselves, were even more primitive than he had thought. They actually believed they could negotiate with the mighty Zephyrin Empire. Your intentions do not matter, human. You will surrender now or be destroyed. Choose quickly. Captain Morrison looked at his crew members before turning back to the screen. The female with short black hair who sat at the pilot station was Lisa Park. The male at the engineering station with brown hair was Ben Carter. The young female at communications with blonde hair was Amy Walsh. They all looked worried but not terrified like most species when they first met the Empire. We cannot surrender, Captain Morrison said. We have families and friends waiting for us to return home. Perhaps we can discuss this peacefully with your diplomatic representatives. The other humans nodded in agreement. Vextai could not believe what he was hearing. These primitives were actually refusing a direct order from the Zephyrin Empire. No species had ever been so foolish. There will be no discussion, he growled. You have 10 seconds to lower your shields and prepare for boarding or we will open fire. Captain Morrison spoke quietly to his crew members. Lisa Park began working at her controls while Ben Carter checked his engineering displays. Amy Walsh was monitoring their communications. They seemed to be preparing for something, but Vextai could not imagine what these primitives thought they could do against his mighty warship. Time is up, human. You have made your choice. Vextai turned to his weapons officer. Fire plasma cannons. Target their engines, but do not destroy the ship completely. We want them alive for study. The Eternal Glory unleashed a barrage of plasma beams that could destroy most ships with a single hit. The bright energy weapons struck the small human vessel directly. The explosion lit up the darkness of space, and Vextai expected to see the Liberty floating helpless with its engines destroyed. But when the light faded, the human ship was still there. It showed no damage at all. Impossible, whispered the sensor officer. Commander, our plasma cannons hit them directly, but there is no damage to their hull. Vextai stared at the screen in disbelief. His plasma cannons could penetrate the armor of any known ship in the galaxy. They had never failed to damage a target before. Run a diagnostic on all weapon systems, he ordered. All weapons are functioning normally, Commander. There are no malfunctions. On the view screen, Captain Morrison was speaking again, but his voice had changed. The friendly tone was gone, and now he sounded cold and dangerous. You fired first. That changes everything between us. The human ship suddenly began to move in ways that defied everything Vextai knew about space travel. It accelerated faster than should be possible, and changed direction without slowing down. The Liberty spun around the massive Zephyrin warship like it weighed nothing at all. How are they moving like that? Vextai demanded. Unknown, Commander. Their propulsion system does not match any known technology. They are somehow ignoring the normal laws of physics. The human ship came to a complete stop directly, in front of the Eternal Glory. Captain Morrison appeared, on screen one final time. Tell your Empire that humanity remembers who fired first. We will be ready when you come looking for us. The Liberty vanished, not into hyperspace like normal ships, but simply disappeared, as if it had never been there at all. The sensors could find no trace of where it had gone. Vextai stood in shocked silence for several minutes before turning to his communications officer. Send a message to High Command. Report that we have made contact with a new species called humans. They appear to have slightly more advanced technology than expected, but nothing that should concern the Empire. Request permission to return to our patrol route. He did not mention that their weapons had failed to damage the human ship. He did not mention the impossible way it had moved through space. He certainly did not mention the cold threat in the human captain's voice. Vextai convinced himself that what he had seen was just some kind of defensive technology that any primitive species might develop. The Zephyrin Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds and defeated thousands of enemy fleets. A few humans with one small ship could never be a real threat to their mighty civilization. He was wrong.